Welcome back to Journals on the March. Journals on the March is a storytelling podcast focused on telling the athletic history of Washington and Lee University through sit-down interviews with alumni, coaches, and athletes, detailing the athletic experience here at our school and explaining how our history, traditions, and values make that experience unique. I'm your host, Thomas Wakefield, a first-year football player here at the university, recording from the Journals Redoubt's podcasting studio at Fancy Hill. Join me today for what will be the final episode of Journals on the March. And for the final episode, I wanted to bring to you guys my story of how I got to Washington and Lee, and what motivated me or inspired me to do this 10-part podcast series. Firstly, I would like to thank Cameron Spivey for the opportunity to work on this, and everyone at the Generals Redoubt. This organization has been incredibly welcoming to me. They've given me, just like every organization at the Washington Lee community, but they've given me all the resources and help I could need, and I am forever grateful that I got the opportunity to do something as cool as this and put it on the internet for hopefully some of you guys to enjoy. And so I guess we'll get started with the question that I began usually most of my interviews with, and I'll tell you guys how I ended up here at W&L. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. My parents didn't go to W&L. My dad went to Wake Forest, and my mom went to Davidson. They did know a bunch of W&L alums in their professional fields, which I believe I have mentioned in the podcast before, especially my mom, who's a lawyer, knows a bunch of W&L undergrads and W&L law school grads. And so it was a school that while it wasn't the first thing you think of growing up because you're not an alum, and when you watch college football as a kid, you watch big D1 FBS schools, it was certainly a school I heard mentioned around the dinner table a few times, and it was something that, if it wasn't the front of my mind, it was certainly in the back of my mind, especially as I got to high school and began to look at the college, recruiting, all that stuff. I played football at Charlotte Catholic High School, which is another fantastic community. I will get into this more later, but it actually is surprising to me how much that community reminded me of the W&L community, both in terms of the football team and just the general school atmosphere. But I played for Charlotte Catholic for 3 years, one of the best experiences of my life. I'm so grateful to that school for everything they provided to me in 3 great years on the football field. I always knew I wanted to play football in college. That was a dream of mine. When I was a kid, my dream school was Notre Dame. But around my sophomore year, I started to put together my film, my tapes, send all that out, and cast my line and see what opportunities I would or wouldn't have to play at the next level. I didn't get much interest in my junior year. My sophomore year, I didn't play too much. I was on varsity, but I was a defensive lineman, and I rotated for some games, didn't start until midway through the year. My junior year, I played as defensive lineman still, but around midway through the year, I got moved to O-line, which I always felt was more of a natural position for me. And I guess things really took off from there because I was playing O-line, and after my junior year, I began to get some interest from colleges at the D3 level and a few D1s. I talked to a few Division I schools, but I knew it was kind of a reach for me given my size and athletic profile. I'm not the most athletic. I'm like 6'1", 270, and I was like 265 then, so it doesn't really project as a D1 offensive lineman, and I knew that. Talked to a lot of D3s, NESCACs, specifically like Middlebury, Amherst were the two that I was most in contact with up there. But around April of my junior year, we were in our spring practice for high school football, our spring workouts, and Coach Rapoza, who's the offensive line coach here at W&L, he came down to do, a recruiting visit, check out the guys we had at Catholic, and he watched us go through a run, like a team run, and afterward, pulled me aside, talked to him. He said that he likes to see guys in action actually move around because being athletic is really important to what we do here on the O-line at W&L. So he said that he liked what he saw, and I remember that was down in the field. I walked back up to the locker room to get changed and head out, and I saw him heading out of the locker room, and me, Rapoza, and my high school coach, Coach Riley, just had a 45-minute conversation about like football, team culture. We talked about how W&L and Catholic have a pretty similar culture in terms of a lot of grit, a lot of hard working. We both ran the ball a ton, and how we're kind of the ones the target on our back, both in our leagues. Because I'll tell you guys, if you don't know from watching the games or you haven't heard football players talk about it, everybody in the ODAC wants to beat W&L. I mean, more than they do anybody else. Sydney hates us, Macon hates us, and they both want to beat us. And that's the same thing I played in my high school. And I enjoyed having that atmosphere of heightened rivalry, heightened competition, because I think it brings out the best in players, and it's a really special experience when you want to beat someone as bad as you want to breathe. And that's how it was in high school, and Rapoza made sure to harp on that's how it was at W&L too. And I left that day. I came home. And I talked to my mom because my mom has always been my biggest supporter, both in terms of just life in general, but also in terms of football recruiting process. And I was like, Mom, W&L visited here. And she was like, oh my God, like you should really be sure to visit there. That's an amazing school. And I was like, it was funny because I talked to schools like Middlebury and Amherst, and she'd be like, yeah, those are good schools. But like when I said W&L to her, she was like, that is an amazing school. And so we visited my junior year, came up here, met with Rapoza. He took like a whole day to just show us around the campus, showed us the football facilities, the locker room, the weight room, the academic buildings, just like on a random Friday in June. He just cut out a whole chunk of his day to show us all that. And I was blown away by both the approachability of the coaches, because I remember trying to schedule it with the visit. I talked to Rapoza, and he's like, look, I'm in Lexington these days. Come up whenever these days, and I will make sure we get you in and we show you around. And I was like, wow, because if you ever tried to schedule a visit with schools, it's not usually as easy as that. But the coaches really do make themselves available to the players, both in the recruiting process and also still nowadays, now that I'm here officially as a player. But yeah, came up, thought it was a gorgeous campus. It was like a beautiful sunny day in June. Thought they had really nice facilities. Thought we had really nice facilities for a Division III school. And I left. I didn't expect to like W&L as much as I did, but I was in that moment. I was like, this is probably where I'll end up. And that continued through much of the summer. Got out to some camps like everybody does. Still trying to do the D1 because we're all trying to chase a dream. But I knew probably wasn't going to happen. I saw Coach Johnson up at Brown. He let me know that my pre-read had been accepted, so I had an official offer to come play at W&L. And in October of my senior year, I visited for a game day experience, and it was W&L versus Hampton-Sydney at home. They won 28-26, I believe was the final score. But what stuck with me was W&L's final drive of that game was 8 minutes, no pass plays. They just ran the ball down the field, kicked a field goal to win the game, ground all the time off the clock. And I remember ran triple option on 3rd or 4th and 15 and picked it up, and I was like, that's like the type of football I want to play. That's what I want to be a part of. And about 2 weeks after that visit, I committed to W&L and kind of been locked in ever since. Went through the rest of my senior football season in high school, had the off-season, doing the off-season workouts that the coaches sent out to us over the Team Builder app. And yeah, came up here in the fall this year and didn't really know what to expect because, as I talked about with a lot of my guests over the course of the semester, it's a really big transition from high school to college football, like no matter how well you prepare. And something I've always taken pride on in myself is that I want to be the most prepared person that I can be. So the second I got added to the huddle for W&L, I was trying to watch all the film I could. They sent us workouts in the summer, and I was like making sure every single day that like I was getting the workouts done, but I wasn't like just doing them to do them. I was like trying to attack them and get better every single day. But I got here, and I still realized that I was way physically further behind than I thought I'd be. I was strong, but I was not as technically refined as like really anybody else in the O-line who had been there a few years. Like the footwork, the speed, the hand placement, like everybody else is a notch above mine. And so it was a realization to be like, look, it's a hard thing to play college football at any level. And people who look down in Division III, I would invite them to come to one of our practices or a practice of any other Division III school in the country and see the level of technical ability that a lot of the players at this level have, because it really is astounding in my mind, the jump that is from high school to college football. And came in, fall camp. I'd heard stories about fall camp because being in the football space, you hear it from guys who are at D1 schools. You hear it from people who, even this upperclassmen of the team will let you know before you get there, that'll be a grind. Fall camp, I had a love-hate relationship with it, right? Because, like, in the moment, it does suck, like, because we had 2 physical activities a day and then, like, a bunch of meetings and other stuff that took up a lot of our time. We're 7 a.m. till 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. every day, and, like, it is a full-time job in that regard. Because, like, even if you're not doing football stuff, like, you got to make sure your body's ready to go. Like, you got to make sure you're stretched. You got to make sure you're not injured, like, all that stuff. You got to keep on top of that so you can be ready for the next day and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. And in the moment, like, it was really hard to get through. But, like, looking back, those are some of the best times that I've had at W&L so far, and I'm really excited for it again next year. Because coming into the O-line room, meeting, like, all the guys that were seniors and also the juniors and sophomores, like, just everybody in the O-line room is a family. It's like the team because the team is a family in and of itself, but the O-line room is a family even tighter than that because we're together in every meeting, we're together at every individual period, every team, every inside run, and we take a lot of pride in what we do, and it's really close-knit because, like, for the O-line, there's 5 of us on the field at a time, and we've all gotta work together. Like, my block is not independent of the guy to the right of me or the guy to the left of me's block, so it really does become very close in that O-line room, and getting close to those guys, learning the playbook, and slowly starting to make progress was one of my favorite things about fall camp. Like, you're not gonna be perfect by the end of fall camp, but, like, you take especially as a freshman, you take a couple steps a day. Maybe it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Maybe it's 2 steps back, 1 step forward, but you gotta keep moving forward and keep giving it your all, and it was definitely a rewarding experience to put a ton in every single day, give it as much as I could, and see that progress slowly started to be being made, both in my ability to play football and also just in my ability to understand my role and try to carve out a space for myself on the team. We had a scrimmage against SVU at the end of fall camp, first live action against college football players, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I underestimated them a little bit because I knew they were 1-9 or 2-8 the previous year, and I didn't think that they would be a real challenge. I figured I played some pretty good guys in high school, and I was wrong. I did not play too well, and I kind of kept the learning curve going to me that nothing's easy in college. Nobody in college, even if they have a losing record, is really that bad. And yeah, we kept rolling through the season. The first game against Salisbury, I ended up starting the first game because of an injury to a senior center, and it kept going from there. He was injured on and off the rest of the year, and I got lucky enough to start my freshman season. Looking back on it now, I will say that there was a lot of stuff that I could have done a lot better, just in terms of technical ability, sure, because like technical ability, you'll improve hopefully almost every year here or every year in college, and like physical ability as well with all the offseason workouts. But there was just some stuff that I look back and I'm like, that could have been fixed in the moment. That could have been, that's like a mentality thing. That's like a just realizing that I need to fix this in between plays. But I'm not mad about how I played my freshman season, but I do recognize there's a lot of room for improvement, and I hope that improvement continues to be made over the offseason and into next year. And I think that I can't speak for the entire team, of course, but I think that the offseason workouts have gone really well so far. People have really attacked it. I think we have a great group of senior leaders for this upcoming 2026 Generals football team. And I think we are all very excited to show you what we can do on the field next fall. And as I'm recording this right now, we're about to wrap up our kind of winter workouts phase of the offseason, which lasted from about January to when we came back from a winter holiday break, whatever you want to call it, till about now, and we'll roll into spring ball when we come back from spring break. This is being recorded right before finals week for winter term, if you're curious, and we'll have spring ball for most of spring term. Then we'll all, head back home to our various internships all over the country over the summer, and we'll have the summer workouts get pushed out again, and we'll come back, report for fall camp in August. And I'm really excited to get after it again on the football field. Another thing I thought I'd answer for you guys, since I asked a lot of my guests this over the course of the show, was like the why W&L question. Why do you end up here? Because the school's academic prestige speaks for itself, and me being as lucky as I am, blessed with the chance to play football here, was very fortunate. But there's a lot of good academic schools in the country. There's a lot of places to play football. So I thought I would share with you guys what made W&L special to me. And to me, it was the emphasis on, well, it was a couple things. I think that the emphasis on practical skills at W&L is something that is very apparent to me. Like the business school is something that a lot of people are drawn to the school for. I am not necessarily a business guy, but I thought it was cool to have an accredited business school at a D3 liberal arts college like this. Same thing with the law school. I've always been interested in law school, potentially practicing law. So I thought it was cool to have a law school attached to a liberal arts college like this. But the main thing that really sold me on W&L was the community nature of it and the honor system. And I know that's kind of cliche to say, but I really do believe that like existing in a college with the honor system is like it makes the college experience here so much better. When I got told about it for the first time on my visit in June of my junior year, I somewhat didn't believe it because my high school had an honor code. I know most colleges have an honor code. I was like, I believe that it exists. I don't know how strong it is, and I don't know if it'll really change my college experience that tangibly. But the more I talked to W&L football people, just W&L people in general, and the more I became struck with how rigidly they adhered to the honor system and how important it was to their college experience, because it gives us so many unique opportunities that I don't think other schools or individuals have. I think that, like, for example, my first semester, I didn't have a single exam that was a traditional exam, quote unquote. I didn't have a single one that was like in this room at this time, proctored by this person, walking around to make sure you don't cheat. All of my exams were take home, and I was shocked by that because I had never been at an institution that places that much trust in its students. And that was something really rewarding for me, because you can make the argument that it's good to have proctored exams because you can guarantee people don't cheat no matter how much you trust them. But I think that the school here recognizes that we are very close to becoming adults. We're close to entering the workforce. We're very close to becoming independent people on our own that have to deal with our ability or inability to complete the tasks we're assigned. And I think that the honor system basically forces you to reckon with your ability and decide what matters more to you, if it's the grade or the integrity of being able to carry yourself high and say that maybe I didn't get an A in this class, but I got a B minus because I knew about a B minus worth of the material. And I think that what makes W&L unique is both the fact that system exists and also the fact that our students choose overwhelmingly to get the B minus instead of cheating and get the A, because the honor system wouldn't survive if everybody was cheating all the time. Even if the executive committee was trying to enforce it, it wouldn't survive. And I think that that is the second reason that drove me to W&L. It's because of the type of people that our school's unique traditions, the speaking tradition, the honor system, it's the type of people that those things attract. As I said, I grew up in a space where even though my parents were not W&L alums, I knew a few. All of them were incredibly successful people, but all of them were incredibly well-mannered, refined, social people. And I think that the speaking tradition definitely engenders that. The speaking tradition, I think, encourages you to be friendly, obviously, but it goes beyond just that. I think it encourages you to have the ability to not have social anxiety, to make connections, to speak to people, and just generally be a positive social person. I believe the speaking tradition empowers us to learn how to kind of get over ourselves, speak to people, and build connections without really having fear, or we just learn how to do it because of the system in which we're in. I think that the small class sizes and the accessibility of the professors also contributes to that. But I think that's something that's really unique to this school, and I think that, again, as I've said multiple times in this show, this school really does try to develop so much more than just the academic parts of its students. The school, through our Greek life, through the speaking tradition, through the honor system, tries to develop what I believe, like, gentlemen and gentlewomen of high character, is basically how I would describe it in a sense if I had to. And I think that if you'll go speak to W&L alums around the nation, around the world, I think that you'll find that every one of them, almost to a T, can be described with that sentence. And I don't think there are too many colleges in the world like that. So I think it's a very special thing that we get the opportunity to be a part of. And I think that, not to veer off on too much of a tangent, but I think that the obligation to protect it is something very important that every generation of W&L students has to reckon with. Because if we choose to weaken or not follow the speaking tradition or honor code strictly, then that damage is done permanently and it's passed down to the classes after us. And if too many classes make those choices in a row, then these incredible systems that have persisted for so long and become a hallmark of this school may fade away. And I don't think anybody would want that to happen. But yeah, that's why I came to W&L. I guess my academic interests are another thing that I've asked most of my guests, so I'll share them with you. I've always known I wanted to do law. I want to go to law school. We will see how that pans out over the next 4 years. But it's always been a dream of mine. I've always enjoyed reading, like, I've always enjoyed learning about, like, in my high school classes, enjoyed reading about Supreme Court cases. I enjoyed reading decisions. I enjoyed reading in U.S. gov and politics, talking about the effects of laws and all that. And I've always enjoyed writing and debating as well. And so I hope that in the future I can find my way to law school. If my interest changes at some point over the next 3 years, I wouldn't be surprised, because that seems also a pretty typical W&L thing. I also interested in economics, mostly because my senior year of high school, I took it because it was an AP class and it fit into my schedule. I took macro and micro, but I ended up discovering that I really did enjoy those classes and I wanted to learn more about the topics. I wanted to delve deeper into like macroeconomic, microeconomic theory. I wanted to learn about specific branches of economics. So I took an economics elective, urban economics with Professor Chester, my first semester here. And I'm in another economics class right now, and I plan to take another one next fall. So that's another area of interest I'm pursuing while here. I don't know where it'll lead, but someone told me, I think Tucker said in the last episode, that take what you're interested in. Like, you have time to finish your major, you will finish your major. So that's what I'm trying to embody, trying to explore as much as I can and follow the tracks that I'm interested in, and we'll see where it leads me over the next 4 years. And yeah, I guess wrapping up my last episode here, some of my favorite memories so far of Washington and Lee and Generals football in general. This year, I really enjoyed the Hampton-Sydney game. We went on the road to Farmville to Hampton-Sydney. They were undefeated at the time, I believe 4-0, and they were ranked number 24 in the country in one poll, number 23 in the country in another poll. We were definitely counted out because at that point we were 1-3. We lost to Randolph-Macon, Wittenberg, and Salisbury. Our only win was against Guilford, but we get up to play Sydney like nobody else. It's funny how like much that game means to us. I mean, we were dialed in the week of practice. Like we knew what we were like. We knew we had to go on the road, play top 25 team, a top 25 team that we don't like, and that always gets the blood flowing. And we came in, offense had a really good day. I think we scored 42 points to their 34. A couple really great plays by Teddy, Anthony, Ty on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, Will Mahmood, senior linebacker, got an interception with about 30 seconds to go, I think, when Hampton-Sydney was in the red zone trying to tie at the end of the fourth quarter. And we ran a play. We practice every single week our 7-second pass to end the game with a win. And that was definitely my favorite moment since I've got here as a football player. There's been some other pretty cool ones, too. Winning the bowl game in Pennsylvania was definitely special, and sitting the seniors off because so many of those seniors, especially in the O-line room, Greg, Kalen, Tucker, like just welcomed me and all the other freshmen in, took us under their wings, and always made themselves available to us to help out. Whatever they could do, they did to help us out because they knew you've got to make sure the next generation is ready to go. And saying goodbye to them, being able to send them off for the bowl win, it was bittersweet because you're not going to see them at lifts or practice anymore, but it was a good way to send them off and a good way to end our season before we headed home for Thanksgiving. Another great moment. And I also enjoyed, we ran for 592 yards against Averett, which was really cool to run for that many yards because, like I said on many episodes, we take pride offensively for football and knowing that we run the ball, and to put up that many yards on the ground, no matter who it's against, is special. Some incredible memories that have happened outside of football have been getting to know my friend group, who became my new member class of fraternity. And in case you couldn't tell by the guests in the podcast, I'm in PICAP, and some of the guys I've met through that have become some of my best friends, and I expect them to be my friends for life. And that, just getting to know them, getting to know the other guys in the fraternity, the older guys, has definitely been one of the more rewarding experiences socially since I got to W&L. And also just one of my favorite things to do, especially as the weather's gotten nice over the past month, has just been to go on a walk in downtown Lexington or maybe through VMI or along the Chessie and just enjoy the nature and kind of drink in the fact that we get to go to school in such a beautiful place with so many historic and natural like advantages that other places don't have. And I think that it's important to look around once in a while and realize how lucky you are, because I am really lucky to be afforded with all the opportunities I've been afforded with at this point in my life. To play football for Washington and Lee, to even attend Washington and Lee, even this podcast, I'm very lucky that I got the opportunity to do this. And I think that practicing gratitude is a very important thing you can do in your daily life. Yeah. Again, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's ever tuned into an episode of Generals in the March. We're a little bit behind on getting all these out right now. But again, thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in to watch. Thank you so much to everybody that's been on the show with me. Thank you very much to Cameron and the entire crew of Generals Redoubt for welcoming me in and giving me all the resources and help I could need or ask for. Hopefully this isn't the last you all hear from me, but we'll see what the future holds. And that, if nothing else, I'm very excited to show you what W&L football is going to do on the gridiron next fall. So for the last time, thank you all very much for watching Generals in the March.